Right now, the Army is attempting to build a new reconnaissance helicopter, the ARH. As part of the research team in constructing the airframe, Tom Davis, a human factors engineer, studies the head and eye movement of the pilot while flying the aircraft.
We're actually monitoring the amount of time the pilot's spending looking outside of the cockpit window versus looking at the actual instrument cluster.
Preferably, the pilot is outside the aircraft, visually, flying, observing, avoiding terrain, and the more time he spends in the cockpit, the more hazard he's under. So the helmet tracker gives us an assessment basically of how effective our cockpit design is by telling us if we're spending too much time with our eyes down and potentially cause us a problem running into the ground.
They want to design the most ergonomic cockpit. And by utilizing a flight simulator with the actual controls of the new chopper, engineers can study the workload for operation.
We know that the pilot only has a limited amount of cognitive resources, and we want the majority of those resources to go into flying the plane versus monitoring the instrument cluster.
They use a device called the eyeball tracker. It allows researchers to follow where the pilot fixates the most and for how long.
So what you have here is the pupil, which is outlined in this white circle, and the corneal reflection, which is behind it. And basically it uses those two objects to discriminate where the point of gaze is.
And for every gaze, the computer puts a blue dot on the screen. Researchers can then see where the pilot spends most of his time looking.
What we're finding in this particular set of data is that the pilot is actually doing the right thing, spending more than 90% of his time looking outside of the plane, observing what's around him in terms of situational awareness and performing those flying duties. So this is a good thing.
With this research, the Army is learning more about pilot behavior, which will allow them to develop a better aircraft. It's also the kind of research that can save many soldiers' lives.
This particular aircraft is very important that the pilot looks outside of the window because it's the Army reconnaissance helicopter, which is very critical because they're going to be actually surveying what's out there and reporting data back to a command center.
It's just one more piece of scientific data that can give the Americans an edge in the war on terror.